Morning.
Hi, Danny. Good morning.
Okay, we are continuing with our study of Daf Yomi. We are going to pick up from the Mishnah at the bottom of Tzadi Zayin and Bet. We have covered a little bit yesterday, but it's worthy to go over because we're discussing it at length the rest of the day. So Hayakori b'sefer al hayiskopa v'gagal sefer miyado gololo etzlo. So if you happen to have been you were, reading your by sefer, they mean not a modern book, but they mean a scroll, right? So you were reading your scroll, and then it started, then it rolled down towards the to the Rishut Rabim from where you are. The question is, are you allowed to roll it back up to you or not? Okay, this is the uppercase here, right? Yeah, this is the scope as a landing. Right, go up a couple. Let's say you went up, a bunch of steps to get to right in front of your front porch, right? So by the bottom of those steps would be the Rishut Rabim, but at the top of the steps is Rishut Yachid, because that's your property, as well as being the right size and everything. So if it rolled down from there, you're allowed to return it back to yourself as long as you're holding one end. On the other hand, Hayakore Barosh Hagag, the Gil Hasefer Miyado. What happens if the scroll rolls out of your hand when you're on the roof, right? You're still holding one end, but the other side rolls all the way down. So if it's more than 10 tefachim from the ground, you can still roll it right back up. But if it has reached closer than 10 tefachim to the ground, you can't put it back up. It's all you can do is flip it over, and then you can roll it up after Shabbos. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, afilu eno mesulak min haaretz ela kolom achat v'lo etzlo. Rabbi Yehuda says as long as it hasn't hit the ground yet, you can still roll it up. Rabbi Shimon Omer, afilu ba'aretz atzmo v'lo etzlo, she'en lecha davar mishum shvut omer b'fnei kitvei hakodesh. Rabbi Yehuda says that even as long as it's Rabbi Shimon. So Rabbi Yehuda says even if it's the amount of a needle breadth, like it's almost nothing. From the bottom, you can roll back to you. And Rabbi Shimon says that even if you touched the ground, you can still roll it back to you, because in this case, rolling it back up is only an Isser Midrabanan, and we would allow you to violate an Isser Midrabanan in order to protect our Kitvei Kodesh, our sacred writings, meaning whether that be part of the Torah, the rest of Tanakh, as far as which exactly ones would be included in that, we'll get to later. Okay, so iskov hechidavi. So what do you mean by this landing, right? This threshold type thing. So ilema iskov barashut yachid v'kama rashut harabim v'logas rina dilvi nafil v'adilatuye. So what is the case? So this is saying that the landing or the iskov is truly a rashut yachid, and the area below that is that of a rashut harabim. And we don't make a zera derabanan that even if it falls down, you might come to walk all the way into Rishut Rabim, which is you'll have 100% violated an Isser Deraita Hotzah. But we're saying we're not worried about that. So on to Tzadichat. So Mani, who's this opinion? Rabbi Shimon says this. Dalmar, he says, Kol Davar Shuvi Shuvashvut Einu Omen Bifnei Kitvei Kodesh. So anything that's made Rabbanan does not stand in the face of protecting Kitvei Kodesh. Right, so Ema Seifa, Rabbi Yehuda, Omer, Afilo Ein B'Sugman Aretz Ela M'Lomachat Golo Aslo. So what about the fact we have Rabbi Yehuda says even if it's less than a needle width away, and Rabbi Shimon Omer Afilo Ba'aretz Atzma Golo Aslo. So now we're trying to figure out what's going on. So we went from trying to figure out the flow.
Bless you.
Thank you. Sorry. So, right. So the question then is, after mentioning those three opinions, so Reisha v'sefer Rabbi Shimon, v'tziyata Rabbi Yehuda. So let me go Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Yehuda, and back to Rabbi Shimon. Why would you organize it that way? Shouldn't you have done it Rabbi Shimon's opinions all together? Rabbi Yehuda in Reisha v'sefer Rabbi Shimon, v'tziyata Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda's like, you're right. but that's the way we organize it, and that's the way the opinions are. So now we have a different option for to explain the ordering who says what. So Rabba Amar Hacha Biskopa Hadidres et Askinan. Umishum Bizyom Kitve Kodesh Sharabanan. So Rabba says no, it's not a standard case of a landing. Rather, it's a landing that many people walk over. And therefore, there's the issue of degrading our sacred writings, and that's why the Chachamim allowed it. So just the fact that that the scroll is outside, we're not worried about, but people are going to walk over it. It's definitely going to get ruined, and that's a problem. So Itve Abaye. Beit has another problem with this whole explanation, that Toch Arba Amot Lo Atzlo. Chutz Arba Amot of Kol Akdav. Another Beit states that if it's 4 Amot, if it's within 4 Amot of where you are, you roll it back to you. But if it's outside of 4 Amot, then you turn it over. Right, of Kol Akdav. So you put the rest of the writing face down, so the writing won't be damaged. So if you get marked Yiskopa and you dress at Askinan, Mali Toch Arba Amot, Mali L'chutz Arba Amot. If you're talking about a case where of our landing where it gets trampled over, what's the difference whether or not it's 4 Amot or less than 4 Amot? Either way, you should be able to bring it back. So what are we talking about here that you turn it over? So El Amar Baye Haka Biskopa Carmelit Askinan. Rather, what was the case be that this landing has the status of a Carmelite? Reshut Harabim Over Lefanea. So you have this landing is in Reshut Yachid, rather it's a Carmelite, meaning it's not a private domain or a public domain. It's an area that's in between the two, and therefore it's Chayav. You're not allowed to carry in it with your banan, and if you carrying it from it to Reshut Yachid or from it to the Reshut Harabim is a problem in your banan. And then Urshut Harabim Over Lefanea, and then again outside the landing is public domain. So what happens then? Toch Arba Amot. So since you're currently in a Carmelite, so if it had fallen into Reshut Harabim, and even if you had gone from where you are the Carmelite less than Daled Amot into Reshut Harabim to pick it up, you wouldn't have been chayav a korban chatat because you didn't actually violate Eruvin Doraita, because if you listen to Daled Amot, even if it's you go listen to Daled Amot, it was in Reshut Harabim, you haven't you haven't violated anything yet. But if you had gone from Reshut Yachid to Reshut Harabim, even if it's less than Daled Amot, that would be a problem. But because the Carmelite has in between status, we say that that as long as less than Daled Amot, you've not violated anything.
Rabbi, I think you're having internet issues.
You're breaking up quite a bit.
Oh, okay. Sorry. 1 second. Let me try to close down some.
You might want to go back a little bit over what you
Okay,
just
so I'll
said.
go back a little bit. What was the last point? Everybody's followed clearly. Back to the beginning of a BAYT statement.
I was going to say good morning, but I won't say that.
I hope it's not that bad. That'd be bad. Okay, so. So we're talking about the cases of you are reading from a Torah scroll or another scroll of the rest of Tanakh, and then it rolls out into Reshut Harabim from where you're standing, whether you're on the roof or you're on a landing of some sort. The question is, what are the circumstances, and what should you do, and why? So currently most of our assumptions have been that everything that we're doing is within the realm of D'Rabbanan. And the question is, are we saying that in order to preserve the sanctity of the Torah scroll, will you roll it back to you or not? And that's the question. So the most recent case we have is that of Abaye, who's saying this landing is a Carmelite, meaning it's halfway between being Reshut Harabim and being Reshut Yachid. So it's, again, which is a separate category halachically. So it's usher to carry there. But if you were to carry from a Carmelite to a Reshut Harabim, it's only Asr Midrabanan, and if you had gone less than Daled Amot, just like if you had been in the public domain itself, in the Rishut Harabim itself, you get Daled Amot before your Chayiv Chatat. Similarly, if you're going from the Rishut, from the Carmelit to Rishut Harabim, you also get the Daled Amot. As opposed to the case if, let's say, if the landing, the Iskopa had been a Rishut HaYachid, then you go from Rishut HaYachid into Rishut Harabim, carrying any amount that's Asr Midoraita, you will be Chayiv Chatat. So we're saying that in this case, we didn't make it the Isser Drabanan because we're not worried about, because even if you were to have gone after your Torah scroll or after whatever scroll Tanakh you're currently reading and gone to pick it up, you would not have been in violation of anything. So everybody seems to frozen. Can everybody hear me? Okay. How long? How much time? How much? Can everybody still hear me? Can anybody hear me? Hello?
Rabbi's internet. No, it was really bad. We can. I mean, it froze for.
The landing beams
Is
frozen again.
okay, better now. I stopped screen sharing. Is this better? Any better yet, or still unclear?
I agree with you. It's from where he's
Okay,
located.
call my phone
100%.
one moment,
I'm in the
please.
same building. Yeah, Rabbi, I'm down the hall from you, and I also have problems. It depends where I am.
1 second. I'm gonna call him with my phone. 1 moment. I'll be there in a second. So hopefully that'll fix the issue.
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by #. Enter your participant ID followed by You are in the meeting now. There are 5 participants in the meeting. This meeting is being recorded.
Everybody hear me now?
Yeah, so far so good.
Okay, good. So now we can continue hopefully, and I guess I'll be less screen sharing. Hopefully that'll. Well,
One question about the screen sharing picture before we go on. So is the reason that picture that had someone climbing up the stairs where the gentleman was sitting, is that to represent that it's a Carmelis and people are moving back and forth rather than Rosh Hashanah? A Yachid? I mean?
Yes. So that would be the question. Depending on is it the landing leading to just your house, or is it the landing leading to, let's say, an apartment building?
Oh, I see. Okay. Where
Like
other people are accessing it.
Right. So how they address it is it just your porch? Because then nobody's gonna go walk up onto your landing on your porch. But if it's for many people, like for a whole large complex, people are gonna walk there. Like it's gonna happen, and you can't really protect. And therefore, it was more worried about the Kippur code that you have.
Right. Okay. Good.
Okay. So Slutz Arbamot. What we mean when it's outside of Arbamot, the might lay Aden Lidei Kata Lo Shar Le Rabbanan. But so since we're going from the Carmelit to Rishut Harabim, so if it's less than 4, you might be in violation of Din Rabbanan, but you could be in violation of Din D'Oraisa. If it's less than 4, so therefore you roll it back. Once it's more than 4, we're by violating Din D'Oraisa, and then we're going to make you stop. Yachi Tok Arba Amot Nami Migzar. Dilma Ma'ayel Mirshit Tarabi Mirshit Yachid. So if this is the case, then you should also forbid for Amot, because maybe you'll end up doing the same practice between a private domain and a public domain. And if you want to tell me that there's no issue of going from one area to another area within a Carmelit, but didn't Rabbi say that if you were to go within a Carmelit and then you pass another area in between, you were chayav, even though you were that if you pass over the Carmelit going from one area to another area, you're still chayav. So that implies that you could be in violation. So what's the circumstance that would allow it then? So Hakam Ma'askinan, Biskopa Aruka, Dahachi Vahachi Mitzar. What we have here is a longer here. We have a longer here. We have a much longer landing, and that's why people will remember and they won't run into any issues. Right, so that's why it's different. Because the landing is so long that you're not going to end up having the issue of 4 Amma will not get you to the Trachid. It'll only get you to, you'll still be on the very long landing you have. Iskopa. Okay. So Viva and Aim, alternatively, there's another option. So long Biskopa and or it's a normal landing, not a super long one. Usam Kitbe Kodesh, Ayune Ma'ayin Behu Umanatu. So the answer is normally when somebody's learning from Kitzei Kodesh, they simply look at it and then place it down. They don't tend to walk around with it. That's how people feel when they're learning from their Svarim. They simply read it in place and then put it right back down their lap. But no, they don't tend to start walking around with it. So if that's the case, then we should be worried that if you about moving in general, that you should be worried about it. You couldn't read it in Eruvin either because you might end up accidentally bringing it to Shechit. So Amani. So then who would say that that's really a problem even in the Eruvin? So Ben Azai. This is the opinion of Ben Azai. The Amar Mahalach Omedam. He says that the problem is that even if not only do we have a certain degree of akula when regards to Eruvin, if you're in motion, you can't have violated Eruvin yet, or at the very least because we require an akira and a hanafa. You have to lift up an item and place it down. And when you're walking, that's not a problem. But the only issue is that Rabbi Azai, he says that somebody's walking is like you're standing, and therefore it is a problem. So the Dilma Zarek Lahu Mizrach. But what about if you throw them? Then what? So then it would work because Ben Azai says that if you would have thrown it, that you would not be liable. So Amar So even though Ben Azai would admit that if you had thrown it, that could have solved the issue, but you don't throw Kitbei Kodesh, so that's not really a valid option. So, and therefore that's how we conclude. Therefore, we're not worried that you're going to throw them, rather than carry them by hand. So therefore, since it's carry, so just generally when you carry them where you are, and you don't go very far. So therefore, we'll allow you to keep carrying. We'll allow you on the case of the Escopa. Okay, now we're up to the roof. So Hayakori Rosh Agag, right? You're reading on the roof and it roll down. So Umishari, who says you're allowed to do this? Kotze, Sari Im, Filin, Lo Hitiru, Lahem Apech, Yirya, Alpanea, Elaporit, Alea Beget. So who said you're allowed to flip it over in the first place? Didn't we learn that when you're done learning from somebody who's a sofer, they're supposed to when they're in the middle of writing, they take a break. They're supposed to cover it up with a sheet. They're not supposed to turn it face down because that'll ruin the cloud. So why are we letting you do it now? Like, I don't understand. So Hatam Efshar, Hakalo Efshar. The Elo Apis Ika Bizayan Kitek Kodesh Svei. So right, well, normally somebody who's writing the Sofer and writing the Sefer Torah or the other Kitek Kodesh, right? Sefer Torah, Tefillin, and Mezuzah. So when he's writing these things, so he's normally in his house and has the ability to take a sheet and cover it, protect it. But on the other hand, here that's not an option, and you're outside, you can't cover it because the Arab won't allow that. The lack of there's no Arabs, so therefore because of Isser Hotel, you can't cover something else. So rather, it would be worse if you left the text of the Sefer Torah sitting up, and that's why we flip it over. So Hafko Alaktav. So we told you to flip it over onto the letters. So how's it possible? But it did not yet come to rest yet. So how are you flipping it over? Right? So again, how is that mutter? So Amarava Bekoto Mushapa. That rather, what type of wall is it? It's a slanted wall. That's okay. We don't have a picture of that. But, okay, we'll notice outside. Meaning it's got a slope. So that way, even though it rolled down, it's already resting, and that's why, because it already had a tanaka.
Rabbi, if you go back to the previous picture with the scrolls coming off the roof, I think there was.
Oh yeah. Yeah, here. So there's something about a slant thing, but here. So again, here you're reading and it fell down. So then you're supposed to flip it over. So the issue is that if it hasn't yet come to rest anywhere, flipping it over is problematic. Because then by flipping it over, you will have made it touch the wall, and then you'll have completed the malacha. So it must be that it's already had an hanacha, and therefore by flipping it over, you're not actually violating anything new. You're simply protecting the ktav.
Which would be the last rule, I guess, where it's kind of comes to rest at the bottom on the ground.
Right. So corner Rishon, we're already at the ground. You're right. It wouldn't really make a difference. But for the other three opinions, right? For Tanakama and Rabbi Yehuda, that you would have to say that there's some sort of incline in the wall. That way, it's already resting on it.
Uh-huh. There's a bit of horizontal as well as vertical because of the slope.
Yeah, so the slope kind of like a roof would be sloped. So I don't know why you built that way, but that just happens to be the circumstance where you'd be allowed to flip it over.
Right.
So Amar le'Abaye, my ukimta l'matnitin. So now right. So now Abaye is like, wait. So how did you exactly establish the facts for this case in our Mishnah? So you said that it's by a slanted wall. So Amos Sefer Rabbi Yehuda Omer Afilu Enu Mesulak Min Haaretz Elam Lo Lo Lo. So the problem with saying that the whole Mishnah is talking about a case of a slanted wall is that Rabbi Yehuda is saying that even if you're a needle's breadth away from the ground, you can roll back. But here you say that it already had a hanacha. It already came to rest on the side of the wall. So how is it mutter for Rabbi Yehuda? So Kusuri Master of we didn't. There's a couple of words that are missing from the Mishnah in order to fully explain it properly. So here's how the full explanation of the Mishnah should be. Med Vorim Amurim. Here's the full one. I'm going to read on to study 7 best. So Med Vorim Amurim. So what is we talking about? That's flipping it over on the case when it is a slanted wall. Aval, Bakoto Shenu Mishupa, Lamala Mishlosha go low and slow, Lamat Mishlosha ho alaktav. Rather, the term is a little bit different. That if it had been again, so everything we mentioned in the Mishnah is talking about the case of it being slanted. Rather, but as in, if it had been not slanted, what is the distance from the ground? There, the distance from the ground is 3 tvachim. And then the case, right? If it's more than 3 tvachim away, you can roll back to you. But if it is less than 3 tefachim, we apply the concept of lavud, and therefore we say you flip over the letters, and there because we say it's already rested on the ground. Okay, so now we're back to the Mishnah talking about Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. Rabbi Yehuda wanted again that's a needle breadth from the ground. So you can throw it back to. Now we're trying to figure out why that's the case. So Rabbi Yehuda Omer, feeling the slip on art, ela kolonima. So the be'inan hanasa al gabe ma'aser, because you would need it to have hanacha on top of something. You can't have hanacha without it actually touching something else. That's just not physically possible. But rather something that seems to contradict this being Rabbi Yehuda, that if it's less than 3, it needs hanacha. Lema katanai amar shloshimah. So when Rava quoted his statement that even less than 3 requires a proper hanacha, so why didn't he bring Rabbi Yehuda as a support? If Rabbi Yehuda really was really saying what we were saying he's saying, then Rava should have said Rabbi Yehuda hold like me. Why didn't he do that? So Ella Kula Rabbi Yehuda. Now really, you're right. All of that is including Rabbi Yehuda, but we need to explain it a bit further. So if you serve a master of Achitani, but here's the full what he meant. Med Baramurim Bekotel Mashupa. Aval Bekotel Shena Mashupa. I feel it Pago Mashosha Tafim go low and slow. Right, so Tana, right? So again, so then if it is slanted, well, that's we talk. That's when we say even a hairbreadth. But so sorry, the 10 tefachim case is where it's slanted. But on the other hand, for when it's not slanted, well, so then even less than 3, you could still roll it back to you, meaning including our kolonima case. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, afilu eno musulak ben haaretz ela malo achut golo aflo. As Rabbi Yehuda says, even if it's the smallest amount away from the ground, you still roll it back up to you. So that would be applying in all cases where it hasn't where it has not yet touched the ground. Even if it's fast in, you roll it all the way back up. So my timer, what's the reason? Why does this work? Because you need to have an action, it's a fully rest on top of something according to Rabbi Yehuda. So again, so just to quickly summarize what we've covered so far. So we covered the Mishnah about rolling from a landing to a Rishon Rabim and from a roof to Rabim. We talked about how almost all these cases is talking about either a potential Durabanan or to where the actual rolling back is only Durabanan. So therefore, in that case, many of the cases we'll let you roll back up, especially that's not yet been an anacha. We're not worried about making any mistakes. On the other hand, if we were concerned about violation of the right, there's the machloka whether or not we can roll back to us or not. Even because the question is to what extent do we are we worried about the sanctity of the Sefer Kodesh, meaning that of the again of one of the Tzorim of Tanakh or Tzorim of Mezuzah, and yeah. So again, so we discussed that and the various implications as well as distance of the ground and how that can relate to it as well. Okay, sorry to run a little quickly. Just we're running a little short on time. My apologies for the connectivity issues there. We should hopefully be able to finish. Okay, so the next Mishnah is Ziz Shalifnei Hachalon Notnin Allah Not Limimenu B'Shabbat. So if you have you have a window ledge, so you can place it on the top of it and take it away from it on Shabbos. Okay, so now the question is, what exactly is this window ledge? And we'll get into the details of that in the Gemara about like how this is structured, size, etc. Okay, so for now we'll say it's this one. Okay, so hi, these so now we're asking, well, where is this ledge overhanging into? So if we're saying that this is happening in Rishut Harabim, that means like your outdoor window goes straight to the public domain, and then the this ledge is over the public domain. Shouldn't we be worried about it falling down and then you're going back to the sort of and pick up your item, bringing it back? In which case, we'll violate it in Mr. Doraisa. So El Damabi was just rather no, it's that your window ledge is protruding into the private domain. So the answer is Shita. Obvious that's much of them because like worse to be fell down the lane as Durabanan, as we were discussing earlier. So Amar Abaye Olam the Mapik or Shita Rabbi. So Abaye says no. It really must be saying that your ledge opens into the public domain. Umay note in alav diktani. What do you mean by you place on top of it? Kelim hanish barim. They're saying that you could place onto it even things that are you can't place whatever you want on top. Only things that are fragile. Your glasses, your fine china, like only things where if they fell down from the ledge, they're shattered to pieces. But anything that's pretty sturdy, your stainless steel, anything made out of stainless steel, that's no good. But only basically things that are, but once they're fragile, or in the ancient context of most of your pottery. So like once that falls down, like it's gonna shatter to pieces, and like that's fine. So Tanya Nami we've taught similar to the Brayta. These Shalitnei Achalon, we similarly taught in the Brayta that if you have a ledge in front of the window, and this window is in Rosh Hashanah. So now that's the diagram on number 18 over here. So here are our, so we've got our various our various types of dishes. I'll explain them one by one. Again, so karot is a bowl, kosot or cups, kitonot are smaller cups, and slochit are sausage or plates. The picture here is not okay. This okay. Seemingly, this parish has different interpretation for what these items are, but
are they meant to represent different degrees of fragility?
They're all different fragile utensils that people used to have. So, like
they're all fragile.
They're all pretty much fragile. So, right. I mean, yeah, I'm not sure why they translated plates to something other than plates, but I don't know. Anyways, okay, because these are all either typically made out of either glass or pottery. So therefore, they would, if they hit the ground, all these things would shatter. As it looks for homes, also, again, if you were to place, your bowls, most of your bowls, cups, and saucers and plates are mostly made out of, truly glass or pottery as well as nowadays. So most of the time, if you were to drop them from your window ledge, odds are they would shatter. We're assuming there isn't, like a foot of snow on the ground to catch it. But yeah, it's not really a worry in ancient Talmudic times. They never thought
could be nice soft sand though.
You could have soft sand, but normally you wouldn't. Like most people lived, like in areas like either you've got we're saying that outside Rosh Hashanah, that means that it's most certainly going to be a most likely a paved area. It's going to be or really it's very hard trodden dirt in order for it to be considered to be a Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah tend not to be able to travel on the let's say any area that's difficult for you to walk on would not be Rosh Hashanah because it's not easy for the public to utilize said space. Okay. And you can you can utilize the entirety of the wall as long as it's above 10 tefachim from the ground. Like even if you have other ledges or nooks and crannies in the wall, you can still utilize it. But if there's another ledge below it, so now here, let's look at the other case. Here we go. So let's say if we have this case here, again, there's an upper ledge and a lower ledge. So one of those, and they're both above 10 tefachim. So we say only those used near the window. Well, I'll explain why. So So the lower one you can use the whole thing, but the upper one you only get to use the. You can only that little unclear. So hi z techidami. So wait, what's this ledge again? Like that doesn't make. What I just said didn't make much sense. So either late by arba, makom turu. So if you look at chalono, nami lo yishtamesh. So if you want to say that it's less than 4 amot, sorry, four tzachim, then even if, then why are we saying you could even use the window, right? Even according to the window, you would be able to use the each bay arba amot b'chulei kol golish tamish. And if it is 4 tzachim, then you should be able to use the whole wall. To understand, like you have that the lower one is big enough, especially size, which would be no problem. The Amar Baye, top stones, each bay arba, the Elyon late bay arba. Rather, we say that the bottom one has 4 and the upper one does not. The chalon mashlim tel arba, but the upper one, the window combined with the ledge gets you to 4 tzachim. So you can use the area directly across from the window on the ledge because it's considered part of the window. The windows, chore alone means like the holes on the side of the window. So, but the high gisa sore, without meaning the ones on the right and the left would be considered to be prohibited. Okay. So now let's try starting the Mishnah, and then we'll continue from it tomorrow. So, Omed Adam Rishut Hayachid, what's I'll tell Rishut Harabim. So, the person is standing in the public domain and moving and taking things from the staying in the private, taking things in the public. Or alternatively, or if you're standing in the public domain and moving something from the private domain, basically you're allowed to do. You see the guy there who's hanging out the window. So if you're doing something like that, so when you're moving something less than Dalama, we're not worried about you making a mistake and moving it too far. That would lead to being in violation. We're assuming that you'll simply end up, moving it less than that amount. Okay. On the other hand, while you're allowed to move around the items, because you're not going to make a mistake, but we will not allow you to urinate from private domain to public domain, or from public domain to private domain, and similarly, you're not allowed to spit. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Rabbi Yehuda says actually, you're not. Once you've got a lot of spit in your mouth, you have to spit it out before you walk another dollar amount. Okay. So we're gonna start on the Gemara tomorrow. So let's just quickly run through what we covered in pictures. So okay. So I'm gonna jump to the beginning of today. So we started talking about the main discussion we had was about flipping over the Kippei Kodesh. If you've been reading them, they rolled over. Nowadays, this won't happen because normally you would not be reading from a Kippei Kodesh in such a fashion. So you really shouldn't have this problem anymore. But anyway, this was happening back then in reading scrolls, and this would happen all the time. This can happen at any given moment. So the question was, how do you protect the Kippei Kodesh in what circumstances you can? Roll it all the way back to you, in which cases you should turn it over and put it face down. We discussed the differences between one case is that of on the landing and how people's access to it can make a difference. And then we also discussed the cases on the roof and how again definitely two completely separate domains. And the question is, how does rolling back to you when you can't roll back to you, when, where, why, and how. As well as we're worried about making mistakes. Then we also discussed the case of moving Dalad Amot, and how that's a problem in Rosh Hashanah and in Carmelit. It's only more than 4 Amot. Less than 4 Amot is not a problem, but if you switch between Rosh Hashanah and Rosh Hashanah, that is a problem. We also ended up discussing the case of the windowsill, of when you're allowed to utilize windowsill for what, and how whether or not we're worried about you things falling down or not, and so we generally said that you're only supposed to use the windowsill that overlooks Rosh Hashanah if things are fragile, because otherwise we're worried that you're going to end up going after your items and bringing them back inside your house, and that'll be a violation of Shabbos Midrash. Similarly, we're talking about the cases, areas in the wall that you're allowed to use. So we also spoke about the case of utilizing the various crags on the wall, as well as the case if we have multiple windows, how it can be multiple ledges, how it's the one if they become large enough, it can become a problem, and how it may only be allowed directly outside of again, if it's considered to be big enough, then it becomes unreshut, and then there'll be a problem carrying from your window and out. However, if it is an extension of the area, then it'll be okay. And then we mentioned in passing about reaching over and moving things that are intershut Eruvin. And again, I'm not bringing it aside. We will discuss more about that hopefully tomorrow.
That moving from the window, we're not saying that you can bring it in necessarily. You're just moving it while it's outside.
Correct. Moving when it's outside.
Okay.
And we'll discuss that more of that tomorrow. So.
Okay, shkoyach. Take care. Have a good day, gentlemen. Be well.
Take care. Have a good day, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Go.